Yes.
Okay, doke. So, very briefly, my background was sales and marketing in a more corporate environment. When I became and started to do all my training as a therapist, I needed to be able to do the job exclusively because I was a single parent, and I didn't have anyone who could look after my baby, which is why I started looking at a completely different career. How I saw it was something that would benefit me, but also something that would enable me to work from home as a single parent mostly. So that was the background. As I looked at other therapists who I trained with, everybody at the time was concerned about how are they going to grow their business and how are they going to grow it sufficiently that it could be their sole income. So it was on that basis that I came up with a strategy for working with groups. So the idea was that I would work with groups which would benefit the group of people that came along, looking at what I felt would be advantageous and enjoyable for a group of people that I could run weekly, where I could also promote myself as a therapist. So that was the whole aim. What I did to do that was look at what I felt was needed and what would be something that almost everybody would say was important and that they benefit from. And I decided to keep it very, very simple, and that was just stress reduction and relaxation and fun. So to create a group that women, I decided to work with women only, which I felt kept it simpler and less complicated because women are very good about talking about their feelings and emotions and everything else. I found a venue that appealed every which way. So ladies would go and meet for coffee there. They would go around the little shop units that were at this particular venue. They had a courses room at this venue, which was rented out for different groups and ideas. So from knitting and pottery and artwork and painting and drawing. So I knew already that this particular venue was well known for different activities. So I just very simply decided to create a Wellness for Women group, which I ran on a Wednesday morning because the courses room was free on a Wednesday morning. It held comfortably up to a maximum of about 20 people. So what I looked at was, okay, so we're going to base this on relaxation, fun, and de-stressing. So to be able to teach people EFT to me was hugely important as a self-help tool. To finish off a session with hypnotherapy, so everybody went out feeling really, really chilled. And then in the middle of the session, make sure there was something interesting to talk about and something that people would find fun. So that was the strategy, and that's how I planned it, but also with quite staying very open minded and curious about it and saying, well, I'm sure this group of ladies that are going to come along for relaxation, a bit of fun, and whatever are going to let me know what it is they want and they need as well as. So I didn't have any set ideas on what we were going to do. I thought this is about trying different things and we'll see how it works. So, long story short, I rented the room, which I agreed to take it every Wednesday for 2 hours from 10 till 12. The thinking on that also was if people were retired, they weren't going to be starting crack of dawn. It was going to be starting at the time when everybody was probably ready for a coffee or a cup of tea. And they would be able to go and then meet friends or join friends or go with friends from the group to have lunch as well, because this venue had several little cafes. Um, and that is exactly what happened. So I realized after not very many weeks of me working really, really hard initially to prepare these sessions that mostly what these ladies wanted to do was for me to shut up, leave them alone to have a good old chinwag between themselves. I would take along the stuff to make, they could make tea and coffee and have some nice biscuits and fruit for those who were healthy. And actually, I could have probably got away with that, and then we could have had a good chat. But I did things like EFT, which they loved. We would do things like the Donna Eden energy routine, and I would sell them copies of things. We'd probably have an inspirational reading. We'd have a kind of an open floor for anybody to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, or chat about problems. Weaving into this every week, I would sell the idea of one-to-one therapy, because I would let them know each week the benefits of having one-to-one therapy, the sort of things that we could resolve, the sort of things we could work on more effectively on a one-to-one. And then I set up little gift vouchers for all my ladies of the group to say, well, if any of you come and see me who are members of this group, I will give you an hourly rate discount. So that went down like a treat. So within the period, first 12-month period, I trebled my business by running that group. It was incredible. And I would have some weeks the same women attending every week, but there was always somebody new popping in, and there was always somebody else popping out. I chose an area where the demographic was going to be fairly middle class, fairly well off people, because that helps when you're starting to talk about therapy at, whatever rate an hour. You don't really want to be in an area where it would be very difficult for people to afford therapy, full stop. I didn't charge. I charged a modest amount for the group. I looked at what other people were charging for similar to our sessions, and that's where I aimed it. I made sure the venue had free parking, because I thought that was a real advantage, and that the room itself was suitable. So when I say that, I mean it was nice and warm, it had a nice feel, it was nice and light. So if I wanted everybody to bring their yoga mats and lie down on the floor at the end to do some hypnotherapy and have some real relaxation, that would be really comfortable. I didn't want them in a space, like a town hall, where it could be a bit cold and drafty and not very pleasant. And it worked really well. I think they guided me every week. They told me automatically what they wanted more of, what they wanted less of. So it ended up being a lot of fun. And I still now, even though I stopped doing the group over 5 years ago now, I've still retained clients from those days, which is lovely. And yeah, it was a very, very enjoyable thing to do. But I didn't get too wrapped up in it being, perfect and trying to impress them or whatever. It was trying to be really, really authentic and say, there's a lot of work we could do on a one-to-one, and these are the sort of things I do, and these are the sort of benefits that other clients find. But I kept reminding them of that. So I was marketing myself as a therapist to them every week.
I suppose, Maidi, the question is, how did you get your initial people to your group?
What I did was I created A5 flyers, and I called it Wellness for Women on a Wednesday. I made it sound a lot of fun, and I posted them everywhere. So I put them in local post offices. The place itself, I plastered the toilets with leaflets, and basically you couldn't turn around without finding a leaflet. So I did a lot house to house as well. However, I didn't get much from that. The venue itself, in fairness, seemed to be self-promoting. Also, they had a website, which was really helpful. That's the other thing I was going to say. And on their website, they posted all the different groups that were going to be taking place in a week. So people could use that to that information. But I would literally put leaflets anywhere somebody would let me leave a leaflet, I think in the early days, I also put some ads in local newspapers, which probably isn't quite as relevant now. And I did stuff on Facebook as well. So, but I'm not great with the whole social media thing. And even my website, I created it just as somewhere to send people to say, this is where you can look at what I do. I never really used it as a major advertising tool. But since those early days, I found without question, everyone since has come to me through word of mouth and recommendation. It's been amazing, really.
Yeah, I mean, how much did you charge them, Maidi, for that?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly, but I think 2 hours, it was about £10, something like that.
All right.
It was around about that, and that was for included a cup of tea or a coffee. That's the only bit that was hard work, really, was taking my own cups and every brand of tea I could think of to make it nice for them, and really nice biscuits and things, you know.
Yeah. All right. So just go in from at the very beginning, your format of your session was what did you find worked best? And so at the very beginning, what would you do?
So what I would do at the very beginning, we used to start off every session with a Donna Eden energy routine, because it was a great way to get everybody off their seat. The exercises were very straightforward and they only took a maximum of 10 minutes to do. It was something I could print off the internet and clip the copies together, and everybody could take them home. So I did that. We would always do tapping. So I'd ask for either volunteers to do demonstrations, of which I always got women who were eager. And I simply, Tanya, followed your advice on all the things from chase the pain to, you know, whatever else we did. It was brilliant. We had a lot of fun doing that. One or two occasions where I wish I hadn't done some of the things I'd done. I remember doing the constricted breathing technique one morning with everybody, and I had one of the ladies nearly collapse because she'd had a massive issue with asthma all her life. So I learned to ask a few more questions, and I learned to take it a lot more slowly. So there was a lot of tapping and breathing initially, as opposed to getting into, you know, any big issues or whatever. I would also sell the cards, tapping cards, to everybody, you know, if they wanted to pick up tapping cards. We always finished with hypnotherapy. The cup of tea and coffee was always in the middle somewhere. And then there was always a section where I might choose, say, an inspirational reading that everybody enjoyed, and then we'd have a chat about it. Or if somebody had said or contacted me in the week and said, could we talk about this, or could we talk about that, or I'd really like some more help with that, and so would my friend, then we'd do that. So it was a lot of aspects of it were quite improvised. I learned very quickly to let my ego go, and to just, if I didn't know the answer to anything, I'd just say, I don't know, but I'll find out for you for next week. So yeah, it was good.
And on your leaflets, how did you let them know it was going to be fun? What did you put on the leaflets?
I have a copy of one right here, but I put, I called it Wellness for Women on a Wednesday with lots of exclamation marks. And I put a fun group for X, Y, and Z. So deep relaxation, some self-help techniques, you know, and made it sound very light-hearted with all my contact details on it. So the leaflet almost became sort of like my business card, really. And I still do that now. I've never produced business cards. I still do a little A5 leaflet now, that if anybody wants to take away. And that, all I do now is put my contact details on it, and do you want to, and then a bullet point list of the things that I could help people with, which keeps it very, very simple, you know.
Well, I'll throw it open to anyone who has any questions about what strategy you have there that you put forward. Anyone wish to ask anything? Yeah, Jacqueline.
Yeah, hi. When you were advertising the morning, did you advertise you as in Maidi, or did you advertise the techniques you used?
I advertised myself and the group. Right. And then the subheading would say to include hypnotherapy for relaxation, EFT tapping for, you know, stress release, whatever. Kept it very, very simple.
Okay, so you would say something like, I can help you with stress, for instance, without naming the technique.
No, I would put, we will use different techniques for stress relief.
Yes, but you wouldn't say tapping, or you wouldn't specifically name one. You would just say through various techniques or something like that.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Maidi, is it not right
Thank
now,
you.
but do you have a copy of that?
I don't know, but I'm realizing it would have been advantageous. So I will have a look. Yes.
Because then I can use that for people. Yeah.
Look it out.
Yeah. So any other, thank you for that, Jacqueline. Any other questions anyone would like to ask at all? Namrata, yeah.
So that was quite a what that was like when you first started, things have changed. Do you think like doing a face-to-face session will be still popular, or do you think it's worthwhile moving everything more to online?
I'm really sorry, you keep cutting out. Can you just
Is my internet? Sorry. So is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my internet keeps cutting out. So given that you did the groups like quite a while ago, face to face, given that how like things changing to online, do you think there's still benefit in doing face to face sessions, or do you think it's worthwhile doing online sessions?
Okay, so I haven't done groups online. I've never tried that, even since COVID. What I found was my business was growing a lot doing, I'm still, and I put it down to my age and the fact that I'm a techie nightmare. I do a lot of Skype work because I started off doing Skype years ago, and to be honest, I've just stuck with Skype. So I have a lot of Skype clients. I still think there is probably now more than ever a huge benefit to doing groups face to face. I think because the effect of COVID socially for most people has meant that people are getting together generally less. I don't know whether that's a sweeping statement, but that's a feeling that I have, that people would like more connection and more contact. I think people need it. And I think groups like that are really beneficial. I found a lot of the ladies who came to me retired, and some of them were actually quite lonely. And so they saw a huge benefit in getting together with like-minded other ladies, and a lot of friendships were made. So it was very good in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think different things are going to appeal to different people, isn't there, really? But yeah, a very effective strategy because they got to know you, Maidi, didn't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Develop trust in you and, all the things you need for a person to make a decision to decide to do therapy with a person.
It's that initial rapport, which I think is so hard to, you cannot do that over looking at a website. Yes, people can look at your picture, and if you've got a nice smile, they tend to say, if you say to somebody, well, why have you come to me, and they hadn't been recommended, then I usually get, oh, well, you had a lovely smile in your picture, and they didn't want to go to somebody who looked serious.
Yeah.
But the rapport was already built with all those ladies, and it ended up being quite a lot. I did it for a couple of years, and over that period of time, and I set up another group in a local village, which I did in the evening. So I do the Wednesday mornings, and then I do the evenings. It made Wednesdays a pretty exhausting day. But the second venue, which was actually in a local community centre, it worked, but nothing like as well as the initial venue that I found, where it was such a pub for ladies to get together for lunch and coffees and stuff. So that's why I say I think the venue is really important, and it needs to be very welcoming, and and I did a lot of day courses there as well. So I found it was very flexible. That's also where I taught EFT over weekends and things. And the day courses were very, very good too. But I had this audience to sell it to, which was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, there you have a venue that they can promote to the grouping of people who go there. So you have a perfect venue there, really, because of that one aspect.
Yeah. And I think there are quite a few venues like that, but you need to find the right venue. I think it's really important. Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that, Maidi.
Yeah, you're welcome.